Come along with us as we traverse the paths of some major religions of the world. Our goal is to reel out the dangers of blind conformism, often fueled by religion and cultural practices. Religion is simply the belief or non-belief in the existence of a god or gods, usually espoused by doctrines. It is a word regularly used interchangeably with faith or a belief system. Howbeit, religious practices vary, and in most cases, they entail the veneration of a supreme supernatural being, deities, or an entity that is considered sacred. Religious practices vary from culture to culture and may include rituals, sermons, sacrifices, incantations, festivals, prayers, feasts, trances, initiations, funerals, matrimonial services, meditations, and so on. For instance, the religious beliefs in Christianity vary from those of Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, and many others. There is no human being on earth without a religion. Even Atheists and Jains are religious about their beliefs that there is no personal God or Creator. The core teaching of most religions are the supremacy of God, the duty of humanity to God and to fellow human beings. Most religions evolved in Asia, and they have holy books that their belief systems are predicated upon, apart from the African traditional religion and a few others. For example, Christianity has the Bible, Islam has the Quran, Hinduism has the Vedas, Judaism has the Tanakh, which contains the Torah, Confucianism has the Longyuan Analects, Jainism has the Agam Sutra, Taoism has the Tao Te Ching, while Zoroastrianism has the Avesta. Most religions also have their ultimate places of pilgrimage. Muslims have Mecca in Saudi Arabia, Christians have Jerusalem in Israel, Hindus have Varanasi in India, Buddhists have the Bodh Gaya also in India, and so on. It is imperative, therefore, to note that most religions have their various sacred days or festivals. Prayers and worship are the basis for most religions of the world, while Christians refer to their supreme God as Jehovah or Elohim, Alpha and Omega, or the Almighty God. Muslims call their supreme God Allah, the merciful, compassionate Lord of creation. Zoroastrians call their supreme being Ahura Mazda, also known as the Wise One. The Hindus call theirs Brahma, the ultimate reality. In Hare Krishna, the supreme being is referred to as Krishna or the attractive one, while Judaism refers to the supreme creator of heaven and earth as Yahweh, also known as I am who I am. In Taoism, he is called Tao, the ultimate reality and truth. So almost all religions or faiths world over have a name for the supreme being. Friends, it is interesting to know that several religions have smaller gods that adherents worship as a medium to venerate the supreme God. Adherents of most religions believe that the human soul does not actually perish when the body is diseased or returns to Mother Earth. Two common practices or rituals observed in many countries of the world are the Halloween and St. Valentine's Day rituals. In the first part of this subject, we analyzed and explored the Halloween annual ritual with its origin and significance. So, let us now analyze the philosophy and practice of St. Valentine's Day, a perverted ritual. St. Valentine's Day is known as the world's holiday of love. It is also known as a festival of sexual license. It originated from two ancient sexual pagan rituals called 1. Lupercalia and 2. Feast Day of Juno Februata. The first ancient festival, Lupercalia, was also known as a festival of sexual license. Centuries ago, it was celebrated on the 15th day of February by the Romans in honor of the deity called Lupercus, the god of fertility and husbandry, also known as the protector of crops and the great hunter of wolves. This festival entailed sacrificing goats and dogs to the deity called Lupercus. At that time, male priests of the deity, who were known as Luperci, would smear the blood of goats on their clothes and go about the city of Rome, striking women with cords made from the skin of sacrificed goats. It was also believed that these would purify women and guarantee their fertility and safe delivery of children. The word February is derived from the word februar, meaning means of purification. Mid-February was dedicated to the worship of the deity Lupercus. It was celebrated on the 15th day as the Wolf Festival, a purification and fertility ritual. On the 15th day of February every year, Roman boys would take small pieces of paper with the name of a teenage girl on it and put such paper in a container. Then the teenage boys will pick up one paper each from such containers randomly. Any girl's name that a teenage boy picks, both will become a couple and they will participate in sexual erotic games and parties across Rome. After such feasts, the couple will remain sexual partners throughout 1 year. That was the ritual for many decades until the year AD 494, when Pope Gelasius I, who, unable to do away with the pagan feast of Lupercalia, renamed the festival of Juno Februata as the Feast of Purification of the Virgin Mary, also known as Candlemas. Even the great Emperor Constantine, who gave Christianity legal teeth in Rome, tried but failed to discard this pagan worship of the deity Lupercus. Pope Gelasius I later changed the day of the festival from February 15th to February 14th and renamed it St. Valentine's Day, named after one of the saints of the Roman Catholic Church who was executed by the emperor for his passion and ideologies in AD 270. Researches, however, show that there were 3 personalities mentioned in the Catholic Encyclopedia who were all martyrs and were referred to as Saint Valentine. One was a priest in Rome, another was a bishop also in Rome, while the third suffered in Africa. They were all horribly murdered. Based on the ostensible attempted Christianization of this pagan festival, men subtly sent women who they desired handwritten messages with the name Saint Valentine. Over the centuries, St. Valentine's Day cards and messages became popular, particularly in the 18th and 19th centuries. Cards were painted with Cupid and hearts, decorated with lace, silk, and flowers. It is important to know that the Romans at that time copied their religious practices from the Greeks. The deity Lupercus was also known by the Greeks as Pan, the god of light. The name Valentine is a Latin word, Valentinus. It is derived from the word valens. It means to be strong, powerful, and mighty. The first Valentine was a priest in Rome who helped Christians that were being persecuted during the brutal reign of Emperor Claudius II. He was later imprisoned. It is recorded that he helped to restore the sight of a blind girl who fell in love with him. But alas, he was beheaded on February 14th. He was tortured and beheaded during the reign of Emperor Claudius II. The second St. Valentine wedded couples secretly. He ignored the ban on marriages by Emperor Claudius II, who felt that bachelors were better soldiers. He was arrested and jailed, but he fell in love with his jailer's daughter. He was later sentenced to death through decapitation. However, before he was allegedly executed, he wrote a farewell note to his jailer's daughter which read, "From your Valentine." The third St. Valentine was a bishop who was also pious and humble. Unfortunately, he was executed in Africa. So, from the foregoing 3 St. Valentine personalities, which one of them is now being celebrated on the 14th day of February every year? As a result of all the confusion and senseless myth surrounding the St. Valentine's Day, the Catholic Church that initiated this event and had exchanged the sexual lottery to be lottery for saints that should be emulated, deleted St. Valentine's Day from his calendar in 1969. Let us proceed now to analyze the name Cupid. It is derived from the Latin verb cupere, which means to desire. Cupid was also known as the son of Venus, the Roman goddess of beauty and love. It was also believed that Cupid was responsible for impregnating numerous goddesses and even humans. Cupid was allegedly a childlike archer, a warrior, who was skilled in the use of bows and arrows. According to Roman mythology, Cupid was believed to have had a cruel as well as a happy personality trait. It was believed that Cupid used his invincible arrow tipped with gold and shot at unsuspecting men and women, causing them to fall madly in love. It was also believed that Cupid's intention was not good at all, as it was aimed at goading couples to fall madly in love, but later to make them miserable at the end, which was fun to him. It is indeed astonishing that such ancient and senseless pagan mythology still affects our lives in this 21st century. An ancient scripture says, "Learn not the way of the hidden." End of quotes. You see, it is amazing how gullible people can be. Do you know that Santa Claus, that we also refer to as Father Christmas, began from the worship of pagan gods? Baal, Osiris, Odin, and Thor. It later transformed from a 4th century Saint Nicholas to the Dutch Santa Claus, and then again to Santa Claus. What an irony indeed. There was a great German philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, who lived from 1788 to 1860. He said so pertinently, "All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident." End of quotes. Friends, St. Valentine's Day is undoubtedly a license for sexual profligacy and an oblique commercialization conspiracy. It has caused countless teenagers to swim in the pool of sexual depravity as they consider it fashionable to be a couple and to indulge in diverse sexual activities. Nowadays, parents even consider it fashionable to ask their teenage children about their boyfriends and girlfriends. St. Valentine's Day has caused millions of virgins to lose their virginity. It has promoted unfathomable moral decadence. The global percentage of teenage pregnancies resulting from St. Valentine's Day ritual celebrations is astronomical. St. Valentine's Day is a tool of deception that the powers of lust activate to capture and manipulate people across the world. These days, it is common to see teenage boys and girls who have multiple sex partners. It is common to hear teenagers say, "My 4th baby father," or "My 5th baby mama." How pathetic indeed. Some say that God is love, and so it is not wrong to celebrate love. That's absolutely correct. But what love are we talking about? What many call love is an aberration. There are 8 concepts of love according to ancient Greek philosophy, but the 4 common types of love are agape, which is love that is spiritual in nature, selfless and without sexual implication. This kind of love is very rare, unfortunately. There is eros, which is strong sexual and passionate feeling. This is the kind of love that sends people to cloud 9. There is philia. This is brotherly love or love between friends with no sexual implications whatsoever. And there is storge. This is natural affection, such as love between parents and children, brothers and sisters, with no sexual implications whatsoever. The other 4 concepts of love are pragma, which is long-lasting and enduring love. The next is ludus. This is a playful and affectionate type of love, with no sexual affiliations thereof. There is philutia, which is self-love and compassion for oneself. And lastly, there is mania, which is jealousy or obsessive kind of love. Friends, more often than not, many people misconstrue lust, infatuation, and sexual degeneracy for love. For example, a few years ago, a young businessman who was resident in Benin City, Nigeria, impregnated his mother-in-law. He said mother-in-law had visited his home to help his wife and her daughter to nurture their newborn baby. When the heat became too much for this fella to handle, he had to run to his pastor for counsel. It was his pastor who let the cat out of the bag. The scandal went viral and tore the couple apart. Isn't it outrageous for a man to have sexual intercourse with his mother-in-law? It is inconceivable. Do you consider such aberration an act of love or an act of lust? A young lady committed suicide in Ogun State, Nigeria, because her longtime boyfriend rejected her pregnancy. In her suicide note, she averred that she terminated her life by administering poison to herself because her boyfriend had rejected her pregnancy. She insisted she was sincere to her boyfriend and did not cheat on him at all. She reeled out curses on her boyfriend before she terminated her life. What a waste indeed. Was the suicide act born out of love or out of sheer stupidity? There's one thing you'll find in lust and infatuation when you open them up, and that is indiscretion. Yes indeed, indiscretion often attracts disgrace. It is unfortunate that the young lady terminated her life for perverted love. Still on the voyage of perverted love, here's a story of a 48-year-old married woman and teacher who had 2 biological children. She was jailed in the United Kingdom for about 4 years for gross sexual misconduct. She had been caught by a crane driver having intercourse with her 14-year-old student. At the time, it was uncovered that she had been intimate with a teenager for about 4 months. And even at the time of her arrest, she was serving as a juror, a 48-year-old married woman and a 14-year-old teenage boy. How lamentable. She was noted for being an exemplary, hard-working professional. But alas, her indiscretion brought great shame to herself and her families. Perverted love oftentimes culminates in sexual madness. These days, what is now in vogue amongst married folks is wife swapping or swinging, wherein married couples exchange their spouses with other couples for sexual exploration and gratification. On yet another note, what do you think will make a mother degenerate to have sexual intercourse consistently with her own son, or a father with his own daughter? Do you think that this is normal? But this happens on a daily basis the world over. Truth be told, lust is the inordinate and unbridled sexual desire for the pleasures of the body and soul. It captivates the human mind through intense sexual cravings or erotic sexual attractions. It is an emotional cankerworm which is usually stimulated by physical attraction and desire for sexual gratifications. Lust is the mother of all sexual perversions. It does not discriminate, as both young and old could be its captive. And more often than not, lust is what countless people celebrate on St. Valentine's Day. Lust is both sensual and sexual. Sensuality is the mental and emotional cravings for sexual pleasures. It is a powerful, subtle, and possessive force that incapacitates its victims and also blindfolds them. It is lust that is blind and not love. Love is powerful, and so is lust. Love builds, while lust destroys like fire. Love gives insight, direction, and wisdom, but lust opens the door to an individual's life for oppression and ridicule. Many people are sleeping in the battlefield of life, and that is the reason for this inspirational piece. It is a wake-up call to all. A Sudanese man was caught in the act of having sexual intercourse with a goat. Thereafter, he was compelled to pay a dowry of 15,000 Sudanese dinars to the owner of the goat. He was also forced to take the goat as his wife. This is what lust can degenerate a person into. There are several sexual perversions that are caused by mental illness. In May 2013, a 46-year-old man, Stephen Smith, was executed through lethal injection in Columbus, Ohio, in the United States of America for the rape and murder of a 6-month-old baby girl. That baby was the daughter of his live-in girlfriend, Keisha Fry. Stephen Smith ascribed the ordeal to intoxication by alcohol. How on earth does someone rape a 6-month-old baby? That is what lust can degenerate a person into. And afterwards, lust would reward such person or persons with humiliation or sickness, and sometimes with death. It is imperative to expose and disgrace that phenomenon called lust. A few years ago, a middle-aged man was arrested in Lagos, Nigeria by the police for consistently raping his daughters as well as his granddaughter. His wife informed the police that she had tried in vain for several years to dissuade her husband from such perfidious act of gross depravity, but that each time she caught her husband having sexual intercourse with their daughters or granddaughter, he would beat her up and even threaten her as well as the girls. And since he refused to change his ways and she could no longer contain the shameful profligacy anymore, she had no choice but to report her husband to the police. A medical report made public revealed that the children had indeed been deflowered. One of their daughters, who was at that time a teenager, also complained bitterly that her father had forcefully been having sexual intercourse with her for several years, but at any time she dared to resist or complain, he threatened to pluck off her eyes. That is how deplorable lust can be. Friends, there are legitimate ways to celebrate love. You see, love and lust are not two sides of the same coin. While one breeds light, the other breeds utter darkness. Surveys have shown that 2/3 of most men do not crave for chocolates, cards, candies, teddy bears, and the likes on St. Valentine's Day. They crave for sex. Researchers indicate that most teenagers have sex for the very first time on St. Valentine's Day, and that millions of people contract sexually transmitted diseases such as HIV and AIDS on St. Valentine's Day. Sexual intercourse is a blood covenant, and everyone must be cautious while entering into blood covenants. For many St. Valentine's Day adherents, celebrating love is equivalent to sex. Oftentimes, the results are unwanted pregnancies, denial of responsibility for such pregnancies, and abortions in many cases. And at such a point, the affection that couples had for each other suddenly expire. One school of thought avers that St. Valentine's Day was established by Pope Gelasius I on February 14th as a holy day in honor of Valentinus, instead of the pagan worship of the deity called Lupercus, that it was Christianizing a pagan celebration of love and fertility. So, if this pagan ritual has been whitewashed with Christianity, it therefore implies that it is now a Christian festival. So, why then did the Catholic Church expunge St. Valentine's Day from its calendar? In 1969, are all approximately 8.2 billion people on earth Christians? It is true that Christianity is the largest religion in the world with about 2.4 billion adherents, but it is worthy to note that about 5.8 billion people on earth are not Christians and may not subscribe to Pope Gelasius' Christianization of a pagan festival. There are over 10,000 religions and sects the world over. Christianity is just one of them, and even at that, lots of Christians do not blindly conform and subscribe to St. Valentine's Day ritual. In rounding up this riveting piece, it is a fact that countries like Uzbekistan, Malaysia, Qatar, Brunei, Iran, Saudi Arabia, North Korea, Pakistan, Indonesia, Somalia, Afghanistan, and several other countries have banned St. Valentine's Day celebration in their respective countries. The hype around St. Valentine's Day in some countries is stirred up by commercial considerations. Billions of dollars are spent annually on chocolates, candies, teddy bears, flowers, cards, and so on St. Valentine's Day. The focus is on the celebration of romantic relationships. St. Valentine's Day ritual puts staggering pressure on many couples in relationships. Lots of people are plunged into financial debts as a result of their desire to blindly conform and celebrate St. Valentine's Day. This undermines the true essence of love, which should essentially be celebrated as often as possible. It is a fact that the 14th day of February every year invokes bitter memories for many people who are single, as it leads them to depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. Friends, you only have one life, so use it wisely. Stay humble and teachable. If you cannot number the stars in the sky or change the course of time, stay humble. Take control of your thoughts, because your thoughts determine your actions and decisions. Hunger to do what is right always. Stay away from foolish people who conform blindly to meaningless traditions and practices. Don't bother about what people will say as long as you're convinced that you are doing the right thing. Always consult with your inner thoughts and refrain from taking decisions and acting out of emotions. Your mind is one of your greatest possessions and endowments. Do not live your life to impress people. Do not live your life to impress anyone. Beware of ignorance as it is food for the minds of stupid people. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section, and please do well to share this piece if you have been inspired in one way or another. Thank you for listening, and here's to your enduring success.